Okay, remember that computers have no common sense. For example, a computer could easily misconstrue the fact that people wake up in the morning and then eat breakfast to indicate that waking up makes people hungry. I'd rather have fewer bets, ideally correlated ones, uncorrelated ones, in which I am highly confident than more bets I'm less confident in, and would consider it intolerable if I could argue the logic behind any of my decisions. Morning, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful start to your day. We are starting out with The Usual Principles by Ray Dalio. We are getting through this so quickly. And we are starting halfway through a chapter today, or part of a chapter. 5.1, to be cautious about trusting AI without having deep understanding. So yesterday we were talking about the fact that we need to understand how certain systems and algorithms work, because let's say, for example, if we're taking an investing example, we want to be able to make sure that we understand how the AI works, that a system is going to kick in and that it will then change what the other systems are going to do potentially, and the whole thing will change and you will no longer be able to get the same results from the AI that you created. And in some cases you might be able to, if you program that in. Again, it depends on the AI and how much learning it does and how it's been programmed. And then that comes again to the human brain and how the two can't live without each other. And yeah, we've been having some very fascinating discussions about these kinds of things. Okay, we'll pick up where we left off. Let's continue. Let's get motivated and ready for an amazing day. And question mark said hi, and Maxis Paulson said hi. And Debbie Reynolds has joined, and Nita has joined, and Young God has joined as well. So great to have all of you there. And London is on the Zoom. Okay, remember that computers have no common sense. For example, a computer could easily misconstrue the fact that people wake up in the morning and then eat breakfast to indicate that waking up makes people hungry. I'd rather have fewer bets, ideally correlated ones, uncorrelated ones, in which I am highly confident than more bets I'm less confident in, and would consider it intolerable if I could argue the logic behind any of my decisions. A lot of people vest their blind faith in machine learning because they find it much easier than developing deep understanding. For me, that deep understanding is essential, especially for what I do. And this comes back to what I was talking about with regards to calculators and exams and different other things, and phone numbers and memory. We can use our technology, but we are still the masters of the technology. We are still the overlords, as it were, of the technology. And so we can create technology to help us. But when the technology fails us, we still need a backup. We still need to be able to memorize phone numbers. Like I said last time, if I'm out and about and my phone dies, I can borrow somebody else's phone. But if I haven't memorized any phone numbers, how am I going to call somebody if I borrow somebody else's phone? Even then, I'm not going to be able to do anything unless I actually use my own brain. So we don't want to lose our skills. We don't want to lose that backup that we have. We want to be able to maintain that. But a lot of people forget to do that, and they just rely 100% on that technology. And that is not a good thing. And I think the people that are going to survive and achieve the most in the future are the ones that continue to use and build those skills with their own mind. I don't mean to imply that the let's have a look. Did I miss anything? No, for me, that deep understanding is essential, especially for what I do. I don't mean to imply that these mimicking or data mining systems, as I call them, are useless. In fact, I believe that they can be extremely useful in making decisions in which the future range and configuration of events are the same as they've been in the past. Given enough computing power, all possible variants can be taken into consideration. For example, by analyzing data about the moves that great chess players have made under certain circumstances, or the procedures great surgeons have used during certain types of operations, valuable programs can be created for chess playing or surgery. Back in 1997, the computer program Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov, the world's highest ranked chess player, using just this approach. But this approach fails in cases where the future is different from the past and you don't know the cause-effect relationships well enough to recognize them all. Understanding these relationships, as I do, has saved me from making mistakes when others did, most obviously in the 2008 financial crisis. Nearly everyone else assumed that the future would be similar to the past. Focusing strictly on the logical cause-effect relationships was what allowed us to see what was really going on. When you combine both, you've got a much greater chance of success because the computer is going to be able to look at things that humans can't and process information more quickly. So, for example, I would be able to go and see if I could hack somebody's password, but it would take me a lot of time, whereas a computer is able to do that very, very quickly. It's able to come up with and test various passwords within a very short period of time and eventually find the correct one. So we want to be able to really have that good interaction between the two. So a computer is going to be able to tell us lots of different things, but we still want to be able to analyze it ourselves and not just rely on the computer, but use our speciality to add to what the computer can do. And now, instead of having one entity or another entity, now we're doing 1 + 1 = 3, where we are not just using the computer only, and we're not just using the human only, because each of themselves don't really add up to very much. But when we combine the two, we actually get a much greater result, which I call 1 + 1 = 3. Okay. When you get down to it, our brains are essentially computers that are programmed in certain ways. Take in data and spit out instructions. We can program the logic in both the computer that is in our mind and the computer that is our tool so that they can work together and even double check each other. Doing that is fabulous. And this is what I spoke about when I was telling you about my high school and how I was addicted to the calculator, got rid of the calculator, and I was able to only start using the calculator to check my work. I was even able to end up doing my final exam for high school without a calculator at all, and still able to pass, even though there were quite a few questions that I had to skip due to time constraints, or questions that I just couldn't do without a calculator, and I just ignored those. And that was a personal choice, but it goes to show the power of the brain itself and what it is capable of. There are shortcuts to absolutely everything. I could have taken in a logarithmic table. There's different things that I could have done to still do the exam. Fortunately, I wasn't allowed to take in a book to be able to use a logarithmic table. My father actually used to have an engineer's book with logarithmic tables and logarithmic rulers and different other things that I could have used in order to be able to still pass the exam, even without a calculator. So we want to be able to use the best parts of both. For example, suppose we were trying to derive the universal laws that explain species change over time. Theoretically, while with enough processing power and time, this should be possible. We would need to make sense of the formulas the computers produce. Of course, to make sure that they are not data mined gibberish, by which I mean based on correlations that are not casual in any way. We would do this by constantly simplifying these rules until their elegance is unmistakable. Of course, given our brain's limited capacity and processing speed, it could take us forever to achieve a rich understanding of all the variables that go into evolution. Is all the simplifying and understanding that we employ in our expert systems truly required? I had some sesame snaps just before this, and it seems like it's made my throat a little bit dry. Maybe not. There is certainly a risk that changes not in the tested data might still occur. But one might argue that if our data mining-based formulas seem able to account for the evolution of all species through all time, then the risks of relying on them for just the next 10, 20, or 50 years is relatively low compared to the benefits of having a formula that appears to work but is not fully understandable, and that at the very least might prove useful in helping scientists cure genetic diseases. So the more you understand something, the more you can use it. But at the same time, something else interesting around this section here is that we will create things that we think will work. So, for example, we used to think that DNA testing was infallible, that if you had the DNA, that there was very little chance of it being contaminated, that DNA was always going to give you the criminal that you required. And people thought that this was going to be the thing that stopped any criminal activity, for example. However, as we all know, from time to time, we learn something, we have something, and we discover that given time, we discover the exceptions. And so we've now discovered that DNA can be tainted, that criminals can use other people's DNA in order to be able to mask their own DNA being at the site or confuse the DNA. There's all sorts of different things that can be done. So we need to realize that when we create something, we might think that it is working, but it is not. And especially with big data projects like the one that Ray Dalio just described, it might seem like something is working and we're able to use it to a degree where it will give us results that are okay, and over time it will improve and get better. So we want to always make sure that when we think of computers and how they've been programmed, we need to realize that there can be mistakes in those programs. But those of you who are young enough to remember Microsoft, I remember when I was in primary school seeing a book at the library in my primary school, and it had a book with the code, with the programming code for Microsoft Word, and it was the basic version of Word. And obviously, we all know that Microsoft Word today is very different to the 1989, 1990 version of Word. Obviously, there are massive differences, and the reason is something was created and it was improved upon and improved upon further and improved upon further. And so with all of our projects, we don't just want to rely on the computer and say that we've created the perfect algorithm. We want to and need to constantly be updating in the same way that we need to do the same thing with our brains. In fact, we may be too hung up on understanding. Conscious thinking is only one part of understanding. Maybe it's enough that we derive a formula for change and use it to anticipate what is yet to come. I myself find the excitement, lower risk, and educational value of achieving a deep understanding of cause-effect relationships much more appealing than a reliance on algorithms. I don't understand, so I'm drawn to this path. But is it my low-level preference and habits that are pulling me in this direction, or is it my logic and reason? I'm not sure. I look forward to probing the best minds in artificial intelligence on this and having them probe me. Most likely, our competitive natures will compel us to place bigger and bigger bets on relationships computers find that are beyond our understanding. Some of those bets will pay off, while others will backfire. I suspect that AI will lead to incredibly fast and remarkable advances, but I also fear that it could lead to our demise. We are headed for an exciting and perilous new world. That's our reality, and as always, I believe that we are much better off preparing to deal with it than wishing it were true. And that brings us to the next section of the book. But before we go to the next section, I wanted to quickly mention that it is interesting because it is actually AI that has predicted that we will go extinct or that AI will overtake us. But there is also AI that will tell us that we will survive. If there is one thing that I have learned not to aim to predict, it is any part of the future. So a lot of people will say that you need to be able to predict the future to be able to invest well. And I don't believe that this is necessarily the case. I know for a fact that nothing ever has been really predicted by anybody. So we can make educated guesses as humans. We can use computers to see if we can get those guesses even better. But there are so many variables in absolutely everything that it is absolutely impossible to be able to predict what the future will bring. So yes, we might be able to say, well, I think we're headed in this kind of direction and we might have a recession coming up. But how that recession will play out, what will really create the cause of that? So it might be looking like it is an accumulation of debt by the population that will cause it. And yes, there might be a huge accumulation of debt, but it might be triggered by corporate greed somewhere else. And we cannot predict when it will happen or how exactly it will happen because of all of the variables that are related to it. Now, I just quickly saw as well that Mladen mentioned something. Computers do not make mistakes. They do what computer programs told them to do. Absolutely. There is absolutely nothing that a computer can do wrong. It's going to just run the program that it was given. And it's the same with our brains. So we only run based on the information that we have accumulated from the past and our instincts that allow us to do the things that we want to do. So we need to go back and reprogram ourselves using different techniques such as NLP and the like in order to be able to make changes in our own lives to achieve the things that we want. Oh, this is such a deep, deep topic. I would love to know what you think about AI and what you think about being able to predict the future and all of these different things, what you think the combination should be of human brain to computer brain, how they should be combined, whether they should be combined, which one you trust in more, whether you agree with my thoughts and my commentary or not. So I would love to be able to hear from you. We need to start wrapping up. If you like this and if you want to see my reading and commentary from the beginning of the book, you can find that at the Passive Cash Flow Club, which is our YouTube channel, and would love to hear your comments there, and would love to have you join us and listen to the recordings of those. This is the last time I'm going to eat sesame snaps before I do my before I do the reading. Even if I drank something, I think it would still stay a little bit stuck in the throat. So you can join us on the YouTube channel, which would be absolutely amazing. If you have any questions about the book, if you have any questions about wealth creation, passive income, the economy, all of those different kinds of things, we answer your questions and also put them up on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know when we have question and answer video that has been put up. So you can ask your questions on Instagram and Instagram. You can get in touch via business_team_6_official. And I'm looking forward to getting to know more of you. So many amazing people who join us online. And I know that you are watching me. And there's a lot of interaction from me to you, but I'd love to also pick up some of that interaction from you to me. So I'd love to get to know you and what kind of things you're interested in, what kind of investing you do, what kind of successes, and what kind of challenges you might have. And if you have challenges, make sure you send those through to the Instagram so we can answer your questions and help you with your challenges. If you're interested in joining us for some of our networking events or game nights, simulation nights, masterminds, feel free to also reach out on Instagram and send us a message, and we'll send you the details of when and where you can join us. We have online and offline events, and we'd love to get to know you. So we're going to leave it at that. Make sure to make the switch to unlock your rich, because you really need to do things differently. And there is a shortcut and a faster way to doing absolutely everything. We're going to stop the recording and head over to Bigo to say hello to everybody over there. If my voice holds out, no more sesame snaps before the reading ever. Very, very bad idea. New learning, not happening again. So look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you so much for joining, and have an amazing day today. Go out and achieve some great things.